Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Kyubi Made Naruto the godlike Shinobi part 2, the end. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Root HQ. Hamura and Koharu burst into Root in search of Danzo. He'd be able to do something about the demon, right? The place was rather empty, which was a shock. Once the two elders made it Danzo, they were met with a disturbing sight. There was only one Root Nin in the whole area, and he was feeding Danzo applesauce and other things old people eat. Poor Sai. Hamura began to stutter in shock. Danzo. The only response was incoherent muttering. Koharu looked at her fellow elder and said, I think we need to put him in an old people home, he's gone senile. Worry began to set in about looking like that in a few years. Pray this never happens to us, she screeched. Lava Village. The group of 5 arrived in the main room of the underground village through a space-time rift. Naruto turned to face the two Kages and asked, well, will you join our cause? Hashirama, being the younger brother, looked at Tobirama for answers. Tobirama simply nodded and said, we will. I still can't believe what I saw, but it can't be helped. Naruto said nothing to that and showed the two to their rooms. Sakumo left the group, but Anko kept following Naruto in an attempt to ravish him the first chance she had. Suddenly, Naruto had an idea for increased security. He ran off, making Anko blink in surprise before running after him a few moments later. Pekura's room. There was a knock at the door. Pekura got up and let Naruto in. She shut the door and looked at him in expectation. Well, come for a fun night? She asked. Naruto turned red in shock before shaking his head vigorously. No, I need a favor. Pekura rose an eyebrow but asked, what is it? Naruto explained how he had an idea for an increase of security, but needed her abilities to do it. And then I have to touch you. Pekura turned pink. So that was his game. She interrupted his continued explanation at that point to say, you can touch me all you want as long as you don't stop there. Naruto's eyes widened and he attempted to protest what she was assuming he meant, but he could only stammer. Finally, he just shook off the blush and put a hand on her shoulder. It began to glow white and his other hand started glowing silver. A perfect Pekura lookalike was created. Naruto bit the copy and the original pouted. You should have done that with me. The lookalike was turned to dust and she began to mutter never mind. Pekura was shocked when Naruto suddenly enveloped her in a warm hug. Thank you. You have no idea how much you've helped the cause. He was right about that. Pekura had no idea what she did. It didn't matter because she could use the situation she was in to escalate things further. She decided to take advantage of the positioning as she pressed her assets onto his chest. Her hand began to snake downward. Naruto turned red in surprise. Sure, he made sexual jokes every once in a while, but the real thing wasn't something he was always prepared for. Pekura, he breathed another time. Sudden sex is meaningless, and because I care about you, I want any intimate moments we have to mean something. Pekura let him go, and after thinking about what he said for a few moments, she nodded in agreement. Naruto smiled and said, thanks for your help. With that, he was gone. Lava Village above ground. With the abilities he gained from Pekura, Naruto planned to make a lava golem army that could use the Scorch release. Sure, he could create pretty much anything, but certain attributes he had to have access to himself in order to be able to pass them on to others, living or not. Above information in mind, you might notice some things don't add up. They will eventually. Naruto's hands began to glow silver as he created an army of lava golems to live in the lava above his hidden village. He granted them an elevated healing factor. All his creations had it though. It wasn't on his level, and the Scorch release to use against enemies if need be. Now, he had the means to attack, not only defend the village without getting involved directly. The defensive addition was the lava and the crystal that even the lava couldn't melt through. The golems were both offensive and defensive. Naruto gave the lava golems their orders and they sunk down in the lava, hidden from view. Satisfied, he opened a space-time rift and went back underground. In an attempt to avoid Anko's advances, he appeared in his room. That didn't turn out to be safe either, since she was there waiting for him. After evading her once more, Naruto had his shadow clones expand the underground village. They began to work on adding more rooms, making a place for shops and an unbreakable crystal training ground. While the shadow clones went to work, Naruto decided to take a rest. Unfortunately, his shadow clone in Mist Village dispelled, so his rest was cut short. Time to see how the Mizukage was doing. He opened a space-time rift and disappeared from the underground area. Kiri, the space-time rift appeared right outside the Jello Dome. As expected, he was surrounded by Kirinin. Once they saw who he was, they led him to see the Mizukage. Naruto had the memories from his shadow clone, but there weren't any about whatever particular situation they were in. The Kirin brought Naruto straight into the Mizukage's office, and she smiled at the sight of him. Naruto smiled back and asked, "Mei, what can I do for you?" Her mind began to race at just how she could answer that question, and she began to turn red. She shook it off and briefed him on the situation. After that, we had him in jail because if he was dead, the Three Tails may have been released. Someone assassinated Yagura and the Three Tails is loose. Normally, if something like this were to happen, a village would keep this info in-house, but honestly, we need your help, she concluded. Naruto understood her position and had the perfect solution. I will capture the Three Tails. You may send whoever you want with me, but they must not engage. They will only get in my way. A few of the Kirin present did not know of his power, and one of them began to rage. Who do you think you are? No one can handle a tailed beast alone. Naruto chuckled and said, "You would be right, but I'm not just anyone." Ignoring further protests, Naruto told Mei, "In return for my services, I want the Three Tails. You won't have to give a child a horrible life, and you won't have to worry about the beast taking the lives of your people. I believe I can tame it." Naruto gave a small display of the wood release, earning a few gasps from the Kirin. The Mizukage's eyes widened in shock, and it was a while before she was able to get out one word. The wood release. How? Naruto smirked because he had the perfect way to make Mei blush. I brought the first Hokage back and well remember what I did a while back to gain a lava defense for my village. Mei turned red at the memory of him biting her lookalike. Like most women, he did that too. She secretly wished he actually did that to her instead of just a copy. Though, some women were more secretive about it than others. A few of the Kirinins began to get angry out of jealousy. Noticing this, Naruto diffused the situation by bringing back the business approach. So, do we have a deal? I know the value of tailed beasts, so I can pay for it. Money has no value to me. The Mizukage regained her business-like composure and nodded in agreement. We didn't really have anyone to seal it in. Anyway, besides, it will be worth it to avoid unneeded deaths. Naruto smiled in response. I agree. Who will lead me there? He asked as his hand began to glow silver. Some of the Kirin stiffened in preparation for attack, but to their surprise, a bunch of suitcases appeared. Money's in there, Naruto announced. A few Kirin began to check things out and the suitcases were loaded. Mei shook off her surprise, embarrassed that Naruto was still able to shock her so much, and she gestured to a few guards. You three. Lead Naruto to the Three Tails. A unison agreement of, "Yes, ma'am," was heard and they were off. Unfortunately, Orochimaru had heard of the situation and had sent his Sound 5 along with Gurren to guard a boy named Yukimaru who could control tailed beasts. The group from Kiri with Naruto had arrived at the same time as the group sent by Orochimaru. The Kirin took battle stances, but Naruto waved them off, telling them that he would handle it. They waited off to the side as Naruto approached the other group. Gurren, don't tell me you're still mixed up with these guys, Naruto asked with disappointment. Said crystal user looked down in shame. Not anymore, our last meeting taught me a lot. Flashback. Back when Naruto was first building the village, he sent out a few blood clones to look for possible recruits for his village. He stumbled on an old hideout of Orochimaru's that he kept people he used as experiments. Gurren was guarding the base and attacked Naruto, but he incapacitated her and gave her a talk that made her rethink her life. Naruto explained the village he was creating and offered her a home there. She told him she would meet up with him eventually, but that there were things she needed to do first. He made a lookalike of Gurren and absorbed her crystal release, planning to use it for a village defense. His version ended up much stronger than the original. Flashback end. If I don't do what they say, they'll kill the kid, she said sadly. Naruto had a sudden look of rage, but he regained his composure almost instantly. Is that so? Anyone who would use innocent lives to bargain with doesn't deserve to live, he said coldly. In a flash of speed, Naruto had incapacitated them all except for Tayuya. I'd prefer not to hurt a woman if I can avoid it. Tell me your story and involvement with the kid, he ordered. Tayuya looked around and her eyes widened. What the fuck? You fucking moron. What did you do? She demanded. Naruto frowned and shook his head at the language. You shouldn't talk like that. It's unladylike. Before she could rage and use tons more foul language, Naruto knocked her out with a chop to the neck, figuring he could question her more later. He caught her as she began to fall and had a shadow clone take her off to the side. Naruto began to question the other Sound Nin, and the only one he felt deserving of a shot to change was Kimimaro, who only appeared brainwashed. Naruto bit the others and absorbed their physical strength and chakra. He didn't really like their abilities, noting them as a bit creepy. The only ability he took was the third eye. After he was done, Naruto approached Kimimaro and Tayuya and used an ability on them that looked a lot like the Kamui from the Sharingan. lake. Naruto turned to face the crystal user. Guren, would you like to bring the kid to the village? My offer to you still stands and I am extending it to the kid as well. Guren looked at the boy and smiled. Yes, I think that would be for the best. He deserves to be more than just Orochimaru's test subject. Naruto growled. I gave him several hundred artificial test subjects that should have made him lay off actual living people. I'm going to be paying him a visit soon enough. He pulled out a vial of a red liquid and made a blood clone. After the blood clone took Guren and Yukamaru through a space-time rift, Naruto walked across the lake, passing the completely speechless Kirinin. Once he stood in the middle of the lake, Naruto set his hands on the surface of the water. He began to channel demonic chakra into the water in order to get the Three Tails' attention. Sure enough, after a minute or two, the Three Tails rose to the surface. Noticing Naruto as the source of the demonic chakra, it eyed him oddly. Naruto stopped channeling the demonic chakra into the water and looked straight at the Three Tails. Isobu, I would like to talk to you on terms we both can meet. Please revert to your human form, he requested. The turtle-like creature shrunk until it took on a humanoid shape. Noticing that it was a woman, and not just any woman, Naruto had to pinch his nose shut to avoid a nosebleed. She had turquoise-colored hair and a tan complexion with curves in all the right places, though it was much easier to see because of her lack of concealing clothing. And picture will be on my profile later. The Kirinins present were blown away with a nosebleed and rendered unconscious. How do you know my true name? She asked in suspicion. Naruto smiled warmly. Kurama told me. She is sealed within me. I have a village of people who have lived hard lives in different forms. I am extending an invitation to you. As you can see, many people are after you and want to seal you away. That is not my intention. I wish to offer you sanctuary and avoid unneeded deaths. The Sanbai's eyes narrowed. Let me verify this with Kurama. Also, how do I know you won't just seal me away if I go with you? She asked in slight hope he might be telling the truth. Naruto did familiar hand signs and a yell of summoning jutsu was heard. I know what it is like to live as a Jinchuriki and wouldn't wish that on anyone. Go right ahead and ask Kurama whatever you want, he offered. The smoke cleared and a fox woman was brought into view. Isobu's eyes widened in shock and Kurama enveloped in her in a hug. I missed you, sis, the fox woman said happily. The Sanbai began to tear up and returned the hug. After the two got reacquainted, Isobu asked, can I trust him? Kurama nodded in response and said, of course. You know, he really reminds me of the sage. Isobu began to stare at Naruto for a moment as if she were looking for someone she once knew. After a few uncomfortable moments of scrutiny, she agreed to stay in Naruto's village. Naruto created a blood clone to transport Isobu with a space-time rift and Kurama dismissed herself in a cloud of smoke. Naruto decided the Kirinin had been out long enough, so he used his control over the water element that he got from the second Hokage to pour freezing water from the lake onto the Kirinin, giving them a rude awakening. Needless to say, they were pissed. Naruto ignored their complaints for being woken up in such a way, and told them the mission was complete. The Kirinins grumbled but went back to the Mist Village anyway. After they were gone, Naruto laughed at their misfortune. He made a few shadow clones to wait and see if any other villages would show up. Once again, Naruto used an ability that looked a lot like the Kamui on himself and disappeared. As it turned out, Konoha had sent a few teams to capture the Three Tails. Fortunately, they were too late. Do we really want someone else to have to deal with what Naruto did? After the shadow clones dispelled and memories were gained, Naruto was beyond pissed at their audacity. How dare they? He would show them. He had the perfect way to teach them a lesson. Luckily, he was undetectable, so he had a stealth edge. Strange dimension. Looking the two over, Tayuya was still out and Kimimaro was still awake but incapacitated. Things will probably be easier that way. Bone guy, Naruto asked since he didn't know the man's name. Kimimaro rose an eyebrow at the way Naruto was addressing him. I'm Kimimaro of the Kaguya clan. You must let me out of here so I can serve Lord Orochimaru. Now it was Naruto's turn to raise an eyebrow. Why would you want to serve a scumbag like him? He asked. He gave me a place to live when I was orphaned. I am forever in his debt, Kimimaro said like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Naruto shook his head in disapproval. That isn't something you owe lifelong servitude for. You thank the person for their kindness and be on your way. Return the favor if you see someone in the same situation you were. The fact that Orochimaru took advantage of you in such a way is more reason not to follow him. I'm trying to make the world a better place. I someday hope to achieve world peace. I can see that you aren't a bad person. You just didn't have the right role model to learn the differences between right and wrong. You can join me if you want. Maybe I can help, Naruto offered. Kimimaro looked torn. He was unsure of what to do. His whole belief system had come crashing down on him. A few moments of uneasy silence followed before Kimimaro responded. I will give it a shot, he said. Naruto smiled warmly. The willingness to change. It puts you ahead of a lot of people, he praised and then offered Kimimaro a hand up. Accepting the assistance, Kimimaro was back on his feet. Naruto noticed a sad look and wanted to call him on it. Not something he wanted to ignore. What's wrong? The bone guy, as he shall be called every now and then, spoke. I may not have enough time left for anything I do to make a difference. I have incurable disease. Naruto shrugged impassively. Not anymore, he said as his hand began to glow white. He put the hand on Kimimaro's shoulder and evaluated the situation. Turns out using his bloodline so often gave him extreme calcium deficiency, and he was becoming less able to produce bones, which would eventually lead to his death. In order to fix this problem, he removed his hand and it glowed silver instead. I am making you a supplement of calcium. Take them regularly and avoid using your bloodline for a while. If you do that, you will get better. Eyes widened in shock. Had Orochimaru lied? Tayuya began to stir but remained unconscious. Noticing the activity, Naruto asked, what can you tell me about her? Kimimaro thought back to recall what he had heard about her. I do not know of Tayuya's origins, but I remember that she was brought back when Orochimaru went out in search for followers. She didn't look too happy. The only conclusion you could really draw from that was that she didn't come willingly. There wasn't enough information. Naruto would still have to question her, something he would have liked to avoid if possible. Thanks, better than nothing, he said as he put a hand on Kimimaro's shoulder. The hand began to glow white and Naruto's other hand started glowing silver. Soon enough, a perfect replica of Kimimaro was produced. Naruto bit it and absorbed the bloodline. Kimimaro cringed at the sight and asked, you aren't like Orochimaru, are you? Naruto had a look of disgust, knowing exactly what he meant. A creepy pedophile. If I were, I would kill myself. Just using one of my abilities, he explained as Kimimaro visibly relaxed. Naruto opened a space-time rift and had a blood clone take Kimimaro to his village. Tayuya was still out, so Naruto decided to wake her up. Though, he figured it would be best to avoid possible retaliation, so he had her bound. Once that was taken care of, he shook her awake. Tayuya looked around and had no idea where she was. She noticed she was tied up and eventually saw Naruto. He had an amused look on his face which pissed her off. Why the fuck did you bring me here? You a rapist or something? She asked as her eyes widened. Naruto frowned. Why does everyone that has a connection to Orochimaru automatically assume when anyone gets them alone that they are going to be raped? Tayuya looked at Naruto like he was an idiot. You don't fucking know Orochimaru. This is the kind of fucked up shit we have to deal with daily, regardless of gender, she announced. Naruto looked at her with a hint of sympathy. He walked over to her, taking note of look of worry surfacing. Please tell me your story. I've been through a lot of things myself, so I will be able to understand things you wouldn't expect me to. I want to know who you really are, and that is something only you can tell me. Another thing. You're too pretty to be using such ugly words, so please tone down the profanity, he requested with a sincere smile. Tayuya's eyes were wide with shock. Such a personality couldn't exist, right? After several long moments of intense scrutiny, she sighed heavily and decided to let her emotional walls down for the first time in years. Have you heard of the Uzumaki clan? She asked as she began her story. Naruto's eyes widened momentarily and he nodded, unable to say a word. At the confirmation, Tayuya continued. My father was in Uzumaki. He had fled Whirlpool during the fall of the Uzumaki and later made an attempt to bring back the clan. He was killed before he could succeed and was only able to father one child, which was me. My pregnant mother fled to a small village and later gave birth to me. The truth got out and my mother was killed. I never even knew my parents' names anyway. I was taken away as an infant and raised elsewhere. In Orochimaru's search for talent, he killed everyone in the village I was raised in and took me with him, she finished. Unable to look directly at Naruto, he put a comforting hand on her shoulder. It's alright, he soothed. My mother is in Uzumaki. I never thought I'd meet another. Would you like to come with me and join my village? He asked, hoping she wouldn't turn down the chance to meet another Uzumaki. Tayuya looked at Naruto like he had lost his mind. You're lying, she accused. Naruto only tilted his head in response. I look more like my father. My mother is the one with the famous Uzumaki look, he offered. Once again, Naruto was put under heavy scrutiny before a decision was made. Fine, I will join. But what about Orochimaru? She asked. Naruto shrugged like it didn't matter in the least. He knows not to mess with me. Though, lately he's been crossing the line. I'm going to have to pay him a visit to make sure he corrects his mistakes, he said as he opened a space-time rift and stepped through it. You coming or not? He asked. Not seeing another option, the still-bound Tayuya hopped over and followed Naruto through the space-time rift. Maybe if she's good, she can have her flute. Lava Village. Once the duo had arrived in the village, Naruto unbound Tayuya. Sorry about that anyway, follow me. You can meet my mom, he said happily. Naruto led Tayuya to his parents' room. As they got close, naughty sounds could be heard. The two turned red and Naruto led her away. Let's come back later, he suggested. Tayuya felt herself getting hot and decided to take her mind off recent events. Can you give me a tour? She asked. Naruto knew what she was doing even if he didn't know why, so he agreed. Kimimaro had already been assigned a room and Naruto told him to come see him when he needed more supplements in order to ensure he would keep taking them. The shops were complete and being staffed by shadow clones, even though the stuff was free so you couldn't really call it a shop. The clones created the items themselves. The training ground was about halfway done, allowing Naruto partial use to allow a limited number of shadow clones to develop jutsu and combat styles. After the tour, Tayuya was assigned a room and Naruto promised her that she would be able to meet his mom later. With a few people he didn't completely trust yet living in the village, Naruto had to add new precautions. He pulled out several vials of blood and made a few blood clones. The abilities Naruto had obtained from Kimimaro allowed him to create skeleton-like warriors, though he had the blood clones do it so that he wouldn't use up the calcium from his bones himself. The skeleton-like warriors used the same fighting style as Kimimaro and were going to be used as inside guards. Anko had found Naruto again. As he fled, he remembered what Konoha pulled the other day, and figured he might as well get them back now. He opened a space-time rift and went through it. Near Konoha, Naruto reappeared a few miles outside Konoha. His hands began to glow silver as he created a Kyubi replica. This creation wasn't a solid. It was a gas. If anything, you could compare it to Maize Boil Release having a Kyubi form. The plan was to have it scare the shit out of everyone. The Kyubi replica rushed toward Konoha and Naruto sat back to observe. It quickly gained the attention of every Konoha nin in sight as they scurried around in fear. After what you put Naruto through, you dare try to give another the same fate? It bellowed with rage. Some idiots threw kunai and were shocked to see the metal melt into nothing upon contact. If you ever attempt to subject anyone to the fate of a Jinchuriki again, I will return and destroy your whole village. The last time, I was defensive. If I am the one attacking, you will all die. This is your only warning. The beast roared with fury and dispersed, gone without a trace. At that point, the whole village had seen the Kyubis return and were cowering with fear. The third looked down sadly. He was reluctant to send those teams after the Sanbai, but only did so to prevent another village from gaining a sudden military might increase. It was just fine if they had it though, right? Now that Naruto had his fun scaring Konoha, he felt like it was time to return to his village, and so he left in a space-time rift. Lava Village. Naruto had a long day. He went to his room and fell asleep right away. Lucky for him, Anko had given up the search for now and he was able to sleep in peace. Or not. Instead of dreams, Naruto was met with his Mindscape. Mindscape. Naruto began to wander the sewer. Hey, Foxy, he called. There was no answer, only faint heavy breathing. Naruto followed the sound and was led in front of the giant cage. Once Naruto got close to the cage, he was met with the sight of the fox woman's hand trailing over the lower part of her silky white dress. A soft moan escaped her lips and Naruto was blasted away with a nosebleed. Once he came to, the fox woman noticed and called out to him, "Come over here, I need your help with something." Naruto pinched his nose shut to avoid a repeat occurrence. Once he found words, he spoke, "I don't think that's a good idea." The fox woman pouted cutely. "It's my mating season. Am I not good enough for you?" she questioned dangerously. Naruto paled. "That's not it at all. It's just I need to discuss something serious, not turn my mind into a love nest." Kurama rose an eyebrow. "Love den," she corrected. Naruto groaned, making the fox woman roll her eyes. "You'll be making this up to me. My mating season lasts a whole month, twice a year." Naruto took on almost an Orochimaru skin tone. Kurama put her hands on her hips and asked, well, this was his chance. Naruto might get the opportunity to meet with the other Jinchuriki. The problem was that he didn't know where to find them. Wonder if Foxy knows. Naruto began to laugh nervously. Of course. Whatever you want," he said reluctantly. Kurama almost purred in response. "Great. Now, what did you want?" she asked. "Oh yeah, do you know where I can find the other Jinchuriki? Konoha only knows about Gaara and Suna, which I already knew, and that the Two Tails is in Kumo. I checked official files the last time I was talking with the old man. Kurama had a foxy grin at Naruto's cunning ability. You've become pretty fox-like. I love the improvement. For now, Manitabi is the perfect place to start. She goes into heat a lot more frequently than the rest of us, so be careful, she advised. Like usual, Naruto pinched his nose to avoid blood loss. How can I find the rest? He asked in curiosity. Kurama smiled at Naruto's enthusiasm and said, I can sense if they are near. For now, one is more than enough to focus on. Naruto nodded in understanding and was finally able to really get to sleep. Kurama looked up, thoughtfully. You really are just like the sage. More than I first thought. Who knows, there may be hope for the prophecy after all. Naruto's room. That morning, Naruto opened his eyes sleepily before closing them again. He noticed that his pillows were a little softer than normal. Suddenly his eyes shot open in surprise. Noticing what he had been laying on, he clumsily fell out of bed. Anko groaned at the loss of body heat but remained motionless. Naruto began to panic, not remembering what happened last night. Anko started to stir, making Naruto bolt out of the room. Once Naruto thought he was safe, he stopped running. Looks like I'm going to have to start my journey earlier than expected, he mumbled as he fled the area of the underground village. Naruto could have sworn he heard Anko sneaking up on him, so he quickly made an escape through a space-time rift. Kumo, since he was not known in Cloud, it probably wouldn't be a good idea for Naruto to suddenly appear in the Raikage's office to strike a deal. He could infiltrate and look around, but if found out, problems could be caused. Maybe he should talk to the Two Tails Jinchuriki directly. Then again, Kumo might not be very happy when they find out someone recruited their Jinchuriki. There may not be a good way to do this. What to do? The safest option available would probably be to see what the Raikage thought of Jinchuriki. Depending on his views, Naruto might be able to get him to consider selling them or trading them. Naruto appeared in the Raikage's office from a space-time rift, only to be surrounded by Bolt, the Land of Lightning's version of a NBU. Raikage, is this any way to treat guests in your village? Naruto asked as he rose an eyebrow in an attempt to fake shock at being surrounded. The Raikage growled. A guest, you say? What kind of guest makes the kind of entrance you just made? He asked impatiently. Naruto struck a thinking pose. He paused for a few moments. You know, he drawled, you do have a point. The Raikage was rapidly losing patience. State your business with this village or I will have you executed, he roared. Naruto rose an eyebrow but shrugged. I actually had a proposition for you. First, I'd like to know what are your opinions of Jinchuriki, he questioned. The Raikage blinked in surprise at the question and grew slightly suspicious. They are heroes. My brother is a Jinchuriki. There a problem with that? He asked dangerously. Naruto smiled at the Raikage's answer. No, not at all. In fact, I'm glad you think that way. Our conversation may have taken a different direction if you resented them in some way. The Raikage visibly relaxed at the response but was still suspicious. He extended his hand. I'm the fourth Raikage. Who might you be? Naruto extended his own hand in response and the two shook hands. Nice to meet you. I am Naruto, Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, he announced. The Bolt Nin tensed and got ready for possible attack. Is that right? You want to stay here or something? I asked. Naruto shook his head and began to explain everything. No, I have a hidden village of my own. One I built. I am trying to make a sanctuary for Jinchuriki and those that have led hard lives. People that can understand one another. What will it take for you to let me leave with your Jinchuriki? You will be able to visit them whenever you like along with anyone else that does not resent them for what they hold. There aren't limits as to what I can give in exchange. Money holds no value to me. I can give your village something similar to the bloodline of the Hyuga but better, he offered. The Raikage would have normally declined automatically, but because of what Naruto said that he was trying to do, he was actually considering accepting. Along with the things Naruto was offering, it wasn't a bad deal. Kumo had wanted the Hyuga bloodline for a long time and now they had a chance to get something better. Life was good. Considering the offer, I asked, will I be able to see the village you will be housing them in before I decide? Naruto had a confused look and decided to get confirmation on something. Of course, you said them. Do you have more than one Jinchuriki? I nodded. Kumo is home to the Jinchuriki of the Two Tails and the Eight Tails. What bloodline were you talking about that is better than the bloodline of the Hyuga? He asked. A voice went through Naruto's mind. Kit, I feel two different sources of demonic chakra besides my own. He appears to be telling the truth. Naruto jumped slightly in shock at the voice, startling a few people. Sorry about that anyway, allow me to show you. He moved his bangs out away from his forehead and there was the third eye. A few people gasped in shock. The revelation made those present wonder if he was offering to impregnate Kunoichis of Kumo to pass that down. Noticing confusion, Naruto decided to clear things up. I can implant this bloodline into anyone I choose. All you have to do is select the people you want to have this ability, and I will give it to them. The difference between this third eye and the bloodline of the Hyuga is that the third eye grants great analytical skill and has a greater field of view, though it cannot see chakra points. Noticing confusion, Naruto decided to clear things up. I can implant this bloodline into anyone I choose. All you have to do is select the people you want to have this ability, and I will give it to them. The difference between this third eye and the bloodline of the Hyuga is that the third eye grants great analytical skill and has a greater field of view, though it cannot see chakra points. The Bolt Nin and the Reikage were practically drooling at the prospect of what they would be getting. The Reikage asked, "How many people will you give it to?" Naruto shrugged dismissively. "As long as you do not force this on anyone, as many people as you would like. As sign of good faith, I will leave the money here while you check out the village to decide if it is satisfactory. If not, you can be on your way. Even keep the money. However, if things are to your liking, we will return here and I will begin the third eye implantation and afterwards take the Jinchuriki with me. I will leave immediate means to contact me if you wish to have a visit." The Reikage nodded. "Your terms are acceptable." Naruto's hand began to glow silver and suitcases filled with money were brought into existence. The Bolt Nin checked out the suitcases and one fainted. Naruto opened a space-time rift and gestured toward it. "Shall we?" he asked as he went inside. The Bolt Nin followed after leaving the Reikage to go last. Lava Village. The group came out of the space-time rift and were inside the main room of the village hidden in the lava. Naruto gave everyone a tour and introduced the Reikage to a few of the people living there so that he would see that the people there were kind and accepting. Naruto even went so far as to ask whoever was meeting the Reikage what they thought of his Jinchuriki status so that it would see that his two Jinchuriki would be treated fairly. Naruto made sure to explain that the village was still being built and would be even nicer when complete. Once the tour was over, the group made it back to the main room. It was time to get back to business. "So, will you allow them to stay here?" Naruto wondered. The Reikage thought about everything he had seen and heard that day and came to a decision. "I will. You said I will be able to visit them whenever I like. How will that work?" he asked. Naruto gestured at the portal in the middle of the room. "I will give you a portal like this one that leads above our village. As long as you do not bring anyone that resents Jinchuriki, you will be granted entry." The Reikage nodded in acceptance. "Very well," he said. Naruto opened a space-time rift and the group went back to Kumo. Reikage's office. A turn to a Bolt Nin. "Bring Yugito and Bee to my office," he ordered. The Bolt Nin left without a word. A turn to another. "Arrange for all of our shinobi to have a meeting outside immediately." Remembering something the Reikage said, he decided to ask about it. "Yugito and Bee are the Jinchuriki, I presume?" The Reikage nodded. After a short pause, the two guests arrived. "Yugito, Bee, you are going with Naruto," said with a hand gesture, "to live in his village. And not going to bother turning Bee into a rapping fool. I've seen it done so horribly that he seems like a moron rather than a little odd, and I just don't want to deal with it." Bee remained impassive as if judging the situation, but Yugito looked at the Reikage in shock. "You're shipping us off to another village. I thought you cared about us," she said sadly. "Kitten, something is different about that one. I sense demonic chakra within him, and those whisker marks let me out so I can have my way with him. MeowWWW. Yugito turned pink at her tenant's remarks. The Reikage frowned but said, "You misunderstand. He is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails and runs a safe house for Jinchuriki and people that have lived hard lives. I've checked it out personally and I must say you won't be disappointed though. Now that I think of it, you never proved your claim of being a Jinchuriki." The two Jinchuriki of Kumo were just starting to look at Naruto differently before that was said. Naruto simply shrugged and said, "Have them ask their tenants. I'm sure that will be verification enough." Yugito looked at Naruto curiously and said, "Earlier, my tenant said you have demonic chakra within you." She turned to Bee and as if on cue, he said, "I found out the same thing." Naruto looked at the Reikage and asked, "Good enough?" They nodded in response. A Bolt Nin spoke from the shadows. "Reikage, the shinobi have been gathered." The Reikage began walking off to meet the crowd, Naruto in tow, but got onto a platform so that he could give the announcement from higher ground. "Today, we have received something better than the bloodline of the Hyuga clan. The third eye. Anyone that wants one is welcome to it. Naruto, show everyone what it looks like as I explain what it does." Naruto moved his bangs away from his forehead and showed the third eye to everyone as the Reikage continued. "It grants precise analytical skill, and has a farther range than the Hyuga bloodline. It can see through objects just the same as the Hyuga bloodline but without the view of the chakra network. Anyone who would like one, come stand by me." Surprisingly, a large group of people were okay with having a strange eye implanted into their forehead. Naruto implanted the third eye into the group with both a white and a silver glowing hand on their shoulders. After all that was over and done with, Naruto created a portal from the Raikage's office to his village leading on the above ground portion. With everything finalized, Naruto opened a space-time rift and led Yugito and Bee into it. Lava Village. Naruto gave the two a tour of the village and gave them each a room. As usual, he explained the room panel and used the suggestive description on Yugito, the same as he had done with most women staying there. It was supposed to be a playful joke, but none of them took it that way. Afterwards, Naruto remembered the promise he made to Tayuya and left the two Jinchuriki to their own affairs as he went to meet with her. Tayuya's room. Naruto approached the door and he could have sworn he heard a soft moan. Since he didn't hear another, he figured he was imagining it. He knocked twice and opened the door without waiting for a response, which depending on your point of view was a mistake. The sight he was met with was red-faced Tayuya, whose hand was still trailing over the outside of her panties. Did she not notice him or not care? Naruto was blasted down the hall with a nosebleed. That just happened to be enough to get her attention. She saw the open door and Naruto out from bloodlust and made an assumption. Pervert, she yelled in embarrassment. Though, that was only a cover, just in case anyone was around. Tayuya looked around and when she was satisfied that nobody was there, she began to drag Naruto into her room. Naruto started to stir and begin to wake up. The last thing he remembered was the sight of Tayuya masturbating. His cheeks started to turn a little red when he remembered what she looked like in only her panties. As he tried to get up, he noticed that he couldn't move his arms or legs. He was tied up with both his arms and legs spread out. What the hell, why am I tied up? He looks down towards his legs and notices he is only in his boxers. And why the fuck am I almost naked? He spotted movement from the corner of his eye. Coming out of a dark corner was Tayuya in all her naked glory with a large grin on her face. Well brat, the reason you are bound and half naked is cause you are going to get punished for watching me. She looked down and noticed a bulge coming from his boxers. Looks like someone likes what they see. Naruto was only half paying attention, and who could blame him? Right in front of him was Tayuya naked, showing him everything. From her lean stomach to her toned legs and her round ass, her body was amazing. She had her hair down to her back, her skin a nice creamy white. Her breasts were nice, a perky D cup with a light pink colored nipples that were quite hard. His dick started to twitch painfully. Tayuya saw this and her smirk grew. He knew he could get out of the binds anytime he wanted, but decided to see where things went and wait for the right time to turn the tables on her. What are you going to do to me? He asked in a shaky voice. Well Brad, I think it would be obvious what I'm going to do to you, but if you really don't know, I'm going to use you to help relieve this itch I have. Refer chapter 11 for Lemon part. Story continues after Lemon. Naruto sat on the bed, his fucked unconscious partners beside him. He untied Tayuya and picked her up. He figured that if he put her to bed, rather than just leaving things as they were, he would catch less hell the next day. Unfortunately, he heard the door open and a familiar voice call, "Care to explain yourself, Naruto?" Hidden Lava Village. Holding a naked woman ass forward over your shoulder and running into your mother could definitely be considered one of the most awkward things that could happen to anyone. And unfortunately, Naruto just so happened to be the victim of such an unpleasant experience. He exhaled sharply and dropped the unconscious Tayuya onto the bed and ushered his mom out of the room, closing the door behind him with a free hand. We can talk about this later." The older redhead frowned but maintained her scolding expression. Before she was given the chance to get out even a word, Naruto hurled himself through a vortex. The Uzumaki reappeared outside the lava pit that protected his village and prevented anyone from entering it. He was met with a somewhat concerning sight. The two lava golems he had created to stand guard had been destroyed. They lay broken into several pieces strewn across the field, alongside countless bodies of various ninja. He was able to make out several different headbands from several different villages. The voice of an aged warrior immediately got his attention. "Naruto Namikaze, the son of the Yellow Flash, today's the day you die." Thousands of ninja came into view. They encircled the entire area as far as the eye could see. The first lava shadow groaned in annoyance. "Tsuchikage, I suppose I can understand why you're here, but why are the Cloud and Mist villages here as well? I've been doing business with them lately and I was under the impression that we were on good terms." He kicked a rock childishly and pouted slightly. "On top of that, did you really have to bring your entire villages? It would really be a lot of trouble for me to have to fight all of you at the same time." His antics gained some scattered laughs from among the crowd. He likely was not what they were expecting at all. The Raikage gained a tick mark on his forehead. "You have a village, do you not? We wouldn't have brought an army for just one man. And did you really think we'd be satisfied with that shitty third eye? Or that we'd really just sell you our Jinchuriki. Don't be so naive. He punched his fist into his palm and sparks went flying at that last outburst. Naruto looked down sadly. Maybe I am naive after all. His hand began to glow and the surrounding ninja tensed. A lava golem was spawned into existence, ready to receive its orders. Destroy the portals. Nobody leaves the compound. The giant rock creature strolled over to the lava pit and descended into the burning inferno. The Uzumaki sighed deeply and looked up toward the cage and their armies. You know something? I had intended to build a peaceful world. I've obviously failed, but I'll just have to take responsibility for that. It hurts me that this is the reality I currently face. None of you know me and I know none of you, and yet we will soon be forced to kill one another, never having the chance to be friends or have any level of understanding. I'm truly sorry that it's come to this. That may very well mean nothing to you. After all, it's too late for any of that now. The lava shadow lowered his head slightly once more. I shall accept this burden alone. I will be your only opponent. Now let's get to it. Naruto's hand glowed white and two more golems respawned into existence. Various elemental jutsu began to fly from all different directions in an effort to eliminate those literal tanks. Lava was launched from their fists and ninjas scattered in the hopes of dodging certain death. Rocks smashed into Naruto from all sides who didn't make any moves to evade. He stepped out of a vortex. Several packs of wolves ran out of it, moving to attack. The Raikage and Tsuchikage were a short ways back, deciding to observe for the time being. They would join the battle soon enough. Where was the Mizukage? They landed next to Naruto, who was encompassed in a ball of light that had so far been effectively deflecting all ninjutsu it was hit with. She looked into his ocean blue eyes and they began to tear up. Her eyes widened in realization. The young man didn't know. The brunette turned around to face the attacking ninja. They had backed off to focus their efforts on the golems. Accidentally hitting a foreign cage, especially an allied one, would have dire consequences. That wasn't a risk people were so willing to take. Plus, Mei was dangerous and it was good for your health to give her space if you didn't want to be melted. Now, she yelled. All throughout the battlefield, Miss Ninja turned their attacks toward the rock and cloud. The Mizukage leaned her head back and began spewing a steam cloud forward, melting numerous enemies. She turned back to Naruto and reached for his face with her hand. The bubble expanded, allowing her to pass through and enter it. She cupped his cheek and kissed him passionately. The Uzumaki was surprised at first but was quick to return the gesture. After a few seconds, Mei broke the kiss and looked at Naruto frantically. I would never betray you, Naruto. Not in a million years. I love you. The tears that had threatened to come out before slowly trailed off of the Uzumaki's cheeks. He was starting to have a harem of sorts. This was the first time any of them had told him that they loved him, but he knew the others did as well, in their own ways. Naruto chuckled bitterly, still somewhat angst-ridden by the entire situation. I love you too, Mei. I don't know what I did to deserve people like you in my life. The brunette smiled warmly and stroked his cheek fondly. You're special. Suddenly their moment was interrupted by a crash. One of the golems had collapsed in defeat. Unfortunately, for the Miss Nin, they were the smallest of the 5 great hidden villages and they wouldn't be able to defeat both the Rock and Cloud Ninja alone, even with the assistance that Naruto's creations brought to the table. Nonetheless, the surprise attack had a large impact on the tide of battle, and a large number of Cloud and Rock Ninja had been taken out. It seemed they had regained their bearings, which could make things go very wrong very fast. Naruto dispelled the ball of light and his hand began to glow. Laser Circus. A bolt of lightning shot straight at our hero. He jumped out of the way only to find himself on the defensive once more. Bolt after bolt were sent his way in succession. Naruto stuck his hand palm out toward the elite ninja targeting him and a crystal wall manifested in front of him. He quickly created 5 golems from behind the defense that the wall gave him. The Uzumaki dispelled the wall with the black light from his other hand and revealed the lava golems. They marched forward, blasting surges of lava, melting everything in their path. Naruto turned to Mei, who was by his side, and nodded to her out of respect for the power she gave birth to, in a sense. Pull back your ninja, Mei. It's too risky for me to use these things when your people can get caught in the crossfire. She nodded in agreement and rushed off. Naruto shot off bone bullets from his fingertips, taking out an advancing unit. The son of the Yellow Flash fought alone, now, beside his 4 remaining lava golems. The wolves had fallen before the first golem, but they had caused a hell of a lot of chaos. Mei had departed to see her people back to her village, but he had a feeling she would be back. Even though she had a good idea of how strong Naruto was, she'd still want to have his back on the battlefield. Strong women were like that. She really did suit him. The only thing was she probably didn't know about his mini harem, and he wasn't looking forward to having to explain that one to her of all people. Oh yeah, that would definitely be a lot of fun. The two Kage that had been watching this entire time had enough. Things weren't going well. They had suffered massive casualties and hadn't managed to kill one man, aside from some missed ninja that they hadn't even intended on killing. The fact remained that their objective hadn't been met and things were getting serious. They'd have to intervene. The Tsuchikage floated over and the Reikage propelled himself forward onto the battlefield. He smashed the head of a golem with a lightning chakra-enhanced fist and it collapsed in a heap of rubble. The Reikage grumbled angrily, "Pull back. We'll handle it from here." Unoki began charging his particle style from his position in the air out of the range of the cannons, and the Reikage dodged lava and started picking the golems off. The hidden mist wasn't too far away from the hidden lava village. They were actually neighboring islands, which is why hidden mist jutsu. Mei was able to return in almost no time at all. She shrouded the small island in mist, effectively preventing Unoki from using his jutsu. The Reikage, on the other hand, was a different story. It would only be delayed a short time. With his speed, he'd connect a devastating blow with something in a matter of time. "Naruto, there's something I have to tell you. Those bastards had the nerve to suggest we team up and destroy your village the same way our villages worked together to destroy Whirlpool in the past under the leadership of previous Kage." Those words triggered something in our favorite blonde. Naruto turned cold. His aura became one relatable to ice. "Thank you, Mei." Crystal style, 10,000 daggers. Shards of crystals formed in massive amounts and flew through the mist. In seconds, thousands of small knives pierced the air. The Reikage was sent sprawling out of the fog with numerous jagged pink objects sticking out of his midsection. He groaned and staggered as he picked himself up, blood almost pouring out of him. It even leaked from the sides of his mouth. The Tsuchikage went through hand signs in an effort to dispel the mist. Wind style, great breakthrough. A gust of wind swept through the fog, effortlessly knocking it away. Only Naruto was nowhere to be seen. Mei stood in his place and simply shrugged. Suddenly, pitch-black hands erupted from the ground, followed by a hollow, emotionless voice. "Secret technique, invitation to hell." The Reikage didn't stand a chance. In his current state, he had no hope to evade to the massive limbs that reached out to grab him. Once they got him, he began to age rapidly as if they were sucking the life out of him. He fell to the floor and was absorbed into the ground. Unoki flew this was in that dodging the hands quite well. He shot off his particle in small bursts, not at full power, but the Kekitoto was powerful enough to keep the hands at bay. The problem was there was no end to them. Naruto could keep the jutsu going indefinitely. The old man didn't last that long. It was soon over. The Mizukage placed a sympathetic hand on Naruto's back. Nobody really won today. Back at the house, Naruto got scolded by his mom big time. Kushina, when will you learn you don't need to treat poor Naruto like a child?" Mei's eye really began to twitch when she found out just how fond the residential women were of Naruto, but she couldn't really blame them, could she? The lava village is no longer in lockdown and the exit portal was repaired. The cloud and rock villages learned their lesson. Well, sort of. Tayuya's back to her old self. Lots of profanity. Her vocabulary is very colorful in bed, which Naruto realized he kinda likes. Lots of orgy sex. Tsunade and Shizune are official harem members, along with quite a few others, such as some of the tailed beasts in their human form. Anko's enjoying herself more than she ever did in the Leaf.
So this was the end of the series. If you wanna watch more series like this, subscribe to my channel. Till then, we weeb offline.